The hit anime series Demon Slayer is an intense ride with elements that check all the boxes. It's full of human emotion and tragedy, action-packed and filled with overwhelming fighting abilities and polarizing characters. From our main trio, the kind Tanjiro, the chaotic Inosuke, and our favorite simp, Zenitsu, to the shadowy Muzan. But with such a colorful cast of characters, have you ever wondered which of them stands at the pinnacle as the goodest of the good? And which one's standards of morality are so low that the bar is literally in hell? Welcome to Cosplay-FTW, your number one source for the latest lowdown on anime and manga news, updates, and analysis. Sit back, relax, and before we get into this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of the new videos. In today's video, we'll look at some of the most prominent characters in the Demon Slayer series thus far and attempt to sort the purest of the pure from the bad apples who are rotten to the core. Before we start, please keep in mind that this is all in good fun and shouldn't be taken too seriously. Just because we may call your fave evil doesn't necessarily mean that they are. Although, given that the series does have some pretty messed up characters, we're probably right. Now let's dive in. Starting off our list is Tanjiro Kamapoko, also known as Tanjiro Kamado. The sparkling Tanjiro stands at the top of our list for obvious reasons. Every time Tanjiro kills a demon, it somehow turns into a cry fest about the demon's past, to including laying on the ground holding said demon's hand while shedding tears. Even after just witnessing the same demon slaughter plenty of innocent people. But this is what makes Tanjiro unique though. Despite how evil someone might be, he still tries to see the good in them, which makes him one of, if not the kindest character in the series. And you know what? We're just gonna throw Nezuko up here too for being one of the sweetest, most well-behaved demons and fighting on behalf of humanity alongside her brother Tanjiro. Next on the list, we have none other than Tamiyoka Gyo. Sure, our resident water pillar is unpopular, cold, and dislikable on the outside and seems like a total elitist, but beneath that ice-cold veneer lies a warm heart. I mean, he was kind enough to put his complete trust in and life on the line for Tanjiro and Nezuko after only meeting them once. I mean, who does that? We'll tell you who. No one but our guy, Tamiyoka. Rengoku Kyojuro, the Flame Pillar, comes next. After the movie, don't even try to argue this one. Rengoku earned his place as one of the top 3 goodest of the good characters. If you've seen Mugen Train, Rengoku likely found his way into your heart as one of your favorite characters, and you're absolutely pissed at the fact that he was done so dirty. Rengoku is just an infectiously optimistic and really nice guy who lives by the philosophy that it is the duty of the strong to protect the weak, which we both admire and deeply respect. Next up, we have the insect pillar, Shinobu Koto, who at first comes across as someone with something of a defective moral compass. Firstly, she's a bully, even to her fellow Hashibira, namely Gyu, and when first introduced, she wants to kill Nezuko, despite Nezuko having never hurt a single human being in her life. Yeah, not a great track record. It isn't until later in the anime that we learn she used to believe there's a way that demons and humans could coexist. After tragedy struck, she finds it difficult to believe this anymore herself, but she asks Tanjiro to carry on this dream of finding a way for demons and humans to be friends, showing us that there is a much more complex character to Shinobu than one might first think. Bringing in our next pick on the good to evil scale, we have the demon Tamayo. Yes, that's right, another demon made it on the list near the top. Despite being a demon, Tamayo is the opposite of violent. Instead of, devouring humans, she's too classy for that. Instead, Tamayo chooses to buy blood from consenting humans in order to satisfy her demonic hunger. She's very intelligent and uses her vast knowledge to provide medical care to the sick or injured. All in all, it's obvious that Tamayo is just trying to make the best of a bad situation. While being a demon, she still retains her humanity and wishes to let that part of her that is still left shine through her personality. Next is everyone's favorite crybaby simp, Zenitsu Agasuma. Now don't get us wrong, Zenitsu's not a bad guy. Far from it, he'd be too terrified of the consequences to be evil anyway. He's just so cowardly that it makes him a bit selfish at times. Don't trust him to put up a brave front for a terrified child. He's just cut from a different cloth. Still, there's something to be said about someone who faces their fears despite being terrified out of his wits. After all, Zenitsu follows Tanjiro and Inosuke to fight alongside them, which is a pretty Chad move right there. He's mostly lower in the good category for being a creep towards the female characters and ripping Tanjiro's hair out while telling him to commit seppuku after discovering Tanjiro was traveling with a girl as cute as Nezuko, even if said girl was his sister. Ooh. After Zenitsu is Kagaya Ubayashiki. Now, we know what you're thinking. How is this guy not higher up on the good side? Kagaya does come across as one of the gentlest characters in the series, and his only goal, so far that we can tell, is to bring peace, leading the Demon Slayer Corps to eradicate the demons and restore balance to the world of human beings. The main reason that Kagaya is not higher on this list has to do with the only real interaction we see with him in the series so far. While he seems calm and speaks quietly, let's not forget that he stood calmly and quietly by as Nezuko was violently attacked by one of its own Hashibira and stabbed multiple times. On top of that, we can assume that if one of the Hashibira came up with a better argument as to why it would be a better option to execute Nezuko rather than let her live, Kagaya would have let it happen too. So while we all know that Kagaya is no doubt a stand-up guy, these two criticisms made us give him a major side-eye. Kagaya rounds off our good characters, and now we'll move into the in-betweeners, where things become less black and white but take on endless shades of gray. The neutrals. Right smack dab in the middle of good and evils, we have best boy Inosuke Hashibira, the hog masked, dual sword wielding, borderline psycho, but always loved maniac. It's kind of hard to say that Inosuke is good or bad. So far in the anime, we don't know much about Inosuke and his past, but one thing is made perfectly clear from the start. Inosuke loves to compete and is hell-bent on becoming the strongest. Inosuke wildly attacks Tanjiro when he first encounters him, and even still does after being knocked out cold with a headbutt. And as soon as Inosuke wakes up, what does he do? He starts headbutting a tree to strengthen his skull? I mean, is that possible? Well, anyway, we all know what's really going on here. Inosuke is insecure that he looks like a girl and is trying to prove to everyone that he is manly. All joking aside though, we have a feeling that if Inosuke was a demon, he'd be pretty much the same guy. Looking for fights, using children's backs as trampolines, and trying to be, the strongest, which makes him the most stable, unstable character, and the perfect character to stand in the absolute middle ground as the most neutral. Starting our descent from the goodest of the neutrals, we move on to the morally questionable Sanome Shinoutsugawa. While we wouldn't exactly call Sanome an evil character, and you can absolutely see the logic behind his thinking, his introduction in the series likely triggered you as much as it did us. Sanome is the wind pillar and is as volatile as a tornado. Being a Hashira, his only task is to kill demons. As luck would have it, the first time we see him is when Tanjiro and Nezuko are present for the first time in front of all the Hashiras of the Demon Corps. Sanome wastes no time and attacks Nezuko unprovoked simply because she's a demon and believes she'll eventually give in to her instincts and eat humans. He proceeds to try prove this to Kagaya by stabbing Nezuko multiple times and even going as far to slice his own arm and fail miserably at baiting her into attacking him. Being as all demon slayers are taught to hate demons with good reason, it's hard to say that Sanome is a bad person since all demons he has encountered up to this point have been evil. Still, his choice to act out in violence against a very tame Nezuko without even asking a single question first was pretty uncalled for. Moving right along, we reach the deeper, winding, and twisted territory of the evils. Some petty, and others nightmare fuel. The first character to make our evil list is the lesser evil, Rui. Rui's story is pretty tragic, so we're giving him some grace here despite all the harm he's done. Rui started off as an ailing human child with a terminal illness and was granted a new healthy body by Muzan in exchange for becoming his loyal underling. As one of the 12 demon moons, Rui brutalized both humans and demons alike, sustaining himself with human flesh and blood and painfully transforming demons and then bending them to his will in an attempt to recreate the perfect family for himself. Kind of like those tyrant kids who tried to play house with you, but always wanted everyone to play the positions they dictated, even if you didn't want to be the dog again, because you have to be the dog every time. Despite everything, Rui does see the error of his ways by the end of his life. even if it is a little too late. Next is the Hand Demon. Yes, that actually is his credited name. For such an early and mostly irrelevant villain, the Hand Demon was really able to earn everyone's dislike. Being the very demon that took down Urokodaki's former students, mere children, and gloated about it, even mocking the death of Makomo. When he's finally bested by Tanjiro, it couldn't be sooner. His only redemption was the fleeting moment during his death that he's able to briefly lament the death of his older brother. After the Hand Demon comes Akaza, seen in Demon Slayer Mugen Train. Based on Akaza's short time on screen, he's earned some people's hatred and everyone's anger. After coming out of nowhere, Akaza comes forth to commit the single most heinous act of bitch-assery and scumbaggery in the entire Mugen Train movie. And in his cowardice, he runs off into the forest to avoid the sun after doing it. Sure, we'll likely see him in the future, but based on what we've seen of him thus far, we're pretty comfortable throwing him down here as one of the worst when it comes to evil. For now anyway. His only saving grace is that we just don't know that much about him yet. Moving down the rungs of morality, we have the extremely sadistic lower moon one of the 12 demon moons, Enmu. Enmu loves to see people suffer, but at least he's indiscriminate about it, I guess. The death throes of a demon dying painfully satisfy him just as much as the heartbroken cries of a human being. But let's be honest, it's not really all that surprising for a demon to be despicable. So let's rewind to Enmu's prior life as a human being. Oh wait, he was always gross. As a human, he chose to be a hypnotherapist to ailing patients, and then he would give them hope that they would recover from their terminal illnesses just so he could tear their hopes of recovering to shreds and leave them in despair. The cruelty he's displayed throughout his life as a human and as a demon doubly earns him this spot as one of the most evil characters in Demon Slayer. But who stands at the pinnacle of evil and the bottom of this list? By process of elimination, you probably already guessed. Muzan Kibasuchi himself, the main antagonist of the series, is the single most evil character in the Demon Slayer series. And we don't have to tell you why, but we will anyway. Muzan is heartless, ruthless, and exceptionally cruel even to his own subordinates. During one of his first on-screen appearances, he brutally murders a pair of drunken humans for being unruly. He then proceeds to kill their female companion too, even though she was just a bystander. You know, just because. And all the while, he proclaimed his own superiority over them since he's petty like that. At the smallest perceived transgression, he reacts with undue lethal force. His lower moon faction begged him for mercy, or even a power-up to better serve him, and how does he react? He's offended and slaughters them for it because he saw it as them telling him what to do. He actually makes Rui's pretend family arrangement look pretty good, but the main reason why he's on this list is he's the man who started it all. Since he creates demons, every demon-related tragedy that has befallen any given character in the series is by extension his fault. You name the tragedy, and it is Muzan's name written all over it. With that, Muzan earns himself the title of most morally destitute and the evilest character on our list. And that was the Demon Slayer characters from good to evil. Thanks for watching. Do you agree with our list? Comment below and let us know. Also, let us know which series you want to see us morally rank characters from next. This has been Cosplay-FTW, and we'll see you in the next one.
My at Cosplay-FTW came in today.
Into the thick of it.
It's Demon Slayer themed.
Ugh.
A Rengoku body pillowcase. A Jew face mask. Jew and Zenitsu buttons. A lanyard for my keys. Amazing postcards and poster. And a Zenitsu Nendoroid. Thank you, Cosplay-FTW.